What are you preparing for? Tomorrow is your wedding, right? It's better to avoid the rush in the morning. What? It would be embarrassing if you came. Don't come. Are you serious? Why would I lie? Stay home. Okay. Glad you understand. After this, he was about to face hell, but he didn't know it yet. I am Mandy. I live with my husband, Ted, and my son, Keith. Both of them work for a company, insisting that housework is a woman's job and absolutely refusing to help. Initially, it was just my husband who said that, but seeing him, my son started to do the same. That would have been tolerable, but my husband and son look down on me for being a stay-at-home mom. It's true what they say, children grow up in the shadow of their parents. Keith is already 29 years old though. I spend my days being ridiculed for just lounging around at home. They hadn't said such things before. Both of them seem tired from work and take it out on me, as if I'm their outlet. It's frustrating to be constantly criticized, but responding in kind would only make things worse. They say whatever they want, calling me fat, ugly, and a parasite, but I try not to let it bother me. I thought it would settle down soon, so I decided to endure. Keith has a lovely girlfriend named Christina. She is very considerate and kind. One day, she came to visit our home. Christina usually smiled, but that day, her expression was stiff. Keith had told me there was something important to discuss, and it turned out they had decided to get married. While the marriage itself was a joyful occasion, her expression remained clouded. My husband Ted, envious of his son having a pretty wife soon, and my son Keith, boasting proudly. Christina smiled awkwardly. It seemed that Keith had proposed, and they were going to get married. We can finally be together. I'm looking forward to the ceremony. I hate to say this, but weddings are expensive. Have you saved up properly? Yeah. Well. Something wrong? Keith's cheerful demeanor suddenly changed, and he responded tersely, trying to change the subject. That day, Christina was also staying for dinner, and I was preparing the meal. My husband and son were drinking and chatting around the table. Christina sat there awkwardly. Seeing that, I called her to the kitchen to help with serving the food. When we laid the food on the table, my husband and son booed loudly, probably because they were drunk. Didn't we eat the same thing this month? Do we have to eat it again? You should expand your repertoire. Coming home tired, and then this? It's a total mood killer. It's impossible to have a different menu every single day of the month, you know? You're just taking it easy, right? Nice for you, doing minimal housework and still not going hungry. Really, it's enviable. I wish you'd do your job properly. We work hard every day to bring money home. While they continued to complain, Christina ate uncomfortably. After the meal, my husband and Keith lounged around watching TV. I was cleaning up in the kitchen. She helped me, and we chatted while cleaning up. Then, she brought up a consultation. Christina looked around cautiously to make sure they weren't listening. When Keith proposed, they talked about the cost of the ceremony, but he had impulsively said he had saved up. However, in fact, he hadn't. As the wedding preparations were nearing their end and they had already sent out invitations, it turned out there was no savings. The cost of the ceremony exceeded Christina's savings, and they considered borrowing from friends after being honest with them. However, Keith stopped that. How can I do such an embarrassing thing? If we cancel the wedding now, there'll be a cancellation fee. But we really don't have the money. That's tough. Should I pay for it? Oh, but. Not for that foolish son of mine, but for you, Christina. Thank you so much. I'll definitely repay you. Oh, don't worry about paying me back. Consider it a gift. Thank you very much. But if it's difficult, please let me know. I was really looking forward to the wedding from the bottom of my heart, but on the eve of the ceremony, Keith said something awful to me. When Keith came back home because he had forgotten something, I was checking my clothes and belongings for the ceremony. Huh? What are you preparing for? What do you mean, what? I'm preparing for tomorrow. It's going to be busy from the morning, right? I'm getting things ready now, so we can have a little breathing room. What? Are you actually planning to come to the ceremony? Of course, I'm your parent after all. I didn't invite you. Don't come, it's embarrassing. What do you mean by that? It's embarrassing if you come. Just don't. Are you serious about that? Of course I am serious. Just stay home. Oh. Okay. Then I won't go. Glad you understand. Bye then. Watching my son walk away, I sighed. The embarrassment is on him, not me. Whatever happens, I don't care. On the day of the wedding, I was leisurely sipping coffee. While I was relaxing, the ringtone of my smartphone echoed. When I checked the screen, Keith's name was displayed. Since he had hurled abuse at me the day before, I decided to ignore the call. However, the phone kept ringing again and again. As he didn't seem to give up, I reluctantly pressed the call button, and Keith shouted loudly. Hey! I heard from Christina that you are paying for the venue? That's right. But since you told me not to come, I can't pay, can I? I didn't hear about this? Well, I didn't say anything, so naturally, you wouldn't have. It's chaos here at the venue right now. Just come and pay now. What? I'm not coming. Why not? You said you didn't want me there because it would be embarrassing, right? That doesn't matter now, why are you being so petty? I'm not being petty. It's your wedding day, I'm just doing what you wanted by not attending. If I had known you were paying for the wedding, I would have wanted you to come. So, you care only about the money? What do you think of me? Man, this is so annoying. Do you have a complaint or something? I have plenty. But if it wasn't for everything that's happened, I would have attended your wedding, even if you told me not to. What about everything that has happened? Don't play dumb. After all the times you've ridiculed me, you have some nerve. I can't remember that, I've got other things on my mind. Lost your memory in all the rush? Remember calling me a parasite, saying how envious you are that I just lounge around all day? Who cares about that now? Just bring the money quickly. Who was it that lied about having savings for the wedding? You said it in the heat of the moment and now you're panicking. It can't be helped, right? Marriage is all about timing and impulse. Money can be figured out, but we're running out of time. Isn't that just being unprepared? Now you're left with no option but to borrow from someone. Well, it's not like that. I had a plan, so no worries. Oh really? And who would that be? I heard a rumor that Christina's parents are rich, so I thought they would lend us the money. You're the worst. And? How did that turn out? It was just a misunderstanding, I heard it from someone. Just because her parents have some branded accessories. That's it? Are you an idiot? Damn, I was misled. Can't forgive those guys. Wait a minute. It's your fault for proposing without thinking ahead. What do you mean? It's not my fault. How can you be so careless with your life partner? Poor Christina. She is sweet on me no matter what. She forgave me even when I told her I had no savings. She didn't forgive you. She had no choice but to accept it after the invitations were already prepared. Well, she accepted it anyway, so what's wrong with that? Don't think just because no one says anything, everything is forgiven. Why? You used to endure whatever I said too. It took a lot out of me, you know? So you were aware that you were saying unpleasant things. It's not unpleasant, it's the truth. The truth? You said I was just lounging around at home. Do you really believe that? Do you underestimate homemakers? Yeah, it's the truth. Housework is easy. And yet all you do is make half-hearted meals. Can you prepare 3 meals a day, each with a completely different menu? Food expenses are not a joke, you know. I don't care, I work outside. Oh. She works too, right? Are you planning to leave all the housework to your wife? That's pretty harsh. No one said that. Once our new life with her starts, I'll do my part properly. I'll talk. You're probably just saying that impulsively too. No. I will share the duties. For her sake. If you really care about your partner, you should have thought more seriously about the money. What's with all this talk about money? Is that all you can say? Well, isn't that the cause of all the trouble you're in now? That, and all the abusive language you've used up until now. You've brought this on yourself. If you just brought the money now, it would solve everything. Be useful for once. See? It's because you always talk like that I got fed up. I never thought it would come to you telling me not to attend. All you do is complain. You should have argued back at the time. I could have, but I'm not as free as you think. But it really was hurtful. You should get into the habit of saying what you think. Maybe you should think before you speak, huh? Are you aware of your surroundings? You're shouting. Is that really okay? There was a sharp intake of breath from the other end of the phone. It seemed he had moved somewhere. After a while, his irritated voice came back, more composed. It sounded noisy over the phone, so I assumed he was at the venue, and I was right. You should have said that sooner. Dad was panicking. I just realized it. I didn't think you would shout like that with people around. You must have known. Were you keeping quiet on purpose? You say things without thinking ahead, right? That's why I guessed as much. If you had just quietly brought the money, I wouldn't have had to shout. I'm not coming. Because I'm a nuisance, right? Because I'm just a parasite. Parasite. That's because you do whatever you want at home. You don't even serve us nice food when Dad and I come home tired. I do think about nutrition and taste when preparing meals, you know? We don't need nutrition. Just fry up some meat or something quick. If you only eat like that, you won't recover from fatigue. I cook with your health in mind. It bothers me that you put effort only into that. What else do you do all day? You're probably just watching TV, right? Who washes the clothes you wear every day? The house is always clean because someone is cleaning it, right? Don't get so smug about just that. And who do you think makes sure you can take a warm bath as soon as you get home from work? You don't need to count all those little things. Little things? They seem little to you, but it's hard labor for me. Working at a company is harder. You're just at home, you don't even deal with people. I do too. Ever heard of neighborhood relations? Life would be difficult if we couldn't communicate smoothly. That's just idle gossip, right? You're just playing around. If it looks like play to you, that's because you don't understand it. I'm worried for Christina. Look, she doesn't have to do that kind of stuff. She works outside too. Even if you go to work, you still maintain neighborhood relations, right? Why does it seem like that doesn't exist to you? That kind of neighborly relationship is outdated. What era are you living in? You're going to build a home with her, right? Having supportive people nearby can be a big help. That's outdated. We can live without that, right? When you're in trouble, those people can help you. At least you should greet them regularly, right? Getting too involved like that just complicates things. It's better not to do it. Who said you need to get deeply involved? A healthy distance is good in any relationship. Huh? Acting all high and mighty. That's none of your business. It's because you do things like that you're in the way. Home is the base of life, right? It's not just about food, clothing, and shelter. You have to care about these things too. If it becomes a hassle, we can just move. Are you going to move every time? Yes. If it doesn't fit, it's necessary to escape from that situation. I won't deny that idea. But in your case, isn't it because you didn't try to fit in? I don't have to fit in. They should adjust to me. That's not something someone who moved in later should say. That attitude will cause you trouble. If it does, it's their fault. Not being kind to new residents is not something a person should do. That attitude. It's not just toward me, your mother, huh? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Relying on others, expecting them to do things without thanks. I'm embarrassed for you. What's wrong with what I'm saying? Come on, just come over here already. I don't want to. Come on. Cut it out. Just give me the money, and then you can go back home. You're good at relying on others, right? Can't you get a loan or something? Christina was trying to ask her parents earlier, but I stopped her. Why? Because it would embarrass me. Absolutely not. Did you by any chance say that to Christina? Not to do that because it would embarrass you? Yeah, she agreed, though reluctantly. It helps that she listens to me. I'm really starting to feel sorry for Christina. It's going to be tough after you're married. You're just going to take advantage of her, aren't you? Nobody feels bad about being relied on. You feel the same, right? That's why I need the money. That's just it, you relying on everyone else makes you look like a parasite. What? What kind of thing is that to say? At that moment, the voices of Ted and Christina could be heard over the phone. They seemed worried about him not coming back to the venue. Keith, perfect timing. Can you hand the phone to your father? What? I'm not done talking yet. Just do it. Overwhelmed by me, Keith reluctantly gave the phone to Ted. Ted's voice betrayed a sense of urgency. Look, Christina is talking about canceling the wedding. Keith could be heard in the background, surprised. What? Christina remained silent. Keith was shouting over the phone earlier, and you were on the other end, right? There were a lot of people around. That's right. Keith was shouting without considering his surroundings. Everyone must have been shocked. The guests started making a fuss, thinking something was wrong, and Christina was explaining everything to them. Everything up to now. Everything? Oh, you mean how Keith said he had wedding expenses covered when he actually didn't and was in trouble? Yes. And about how I've been abusive towards you. Oh, like when you got complaints about the meals being the same and me not doing my job as a homemaker? That's right. Both Keith and I got an earful from Christina's parents. Keith's panicked voice could be heard over the phone. He seemed to be desperately pleading with Christina, but no response from her could be heard. Can you come over now? Explain everything and try to convince everyone. Why should I? Didn't Keith tell me not to come? Don't talk like a child, aren't we a family? Don't say things like you're abandoning us. Abandoning? I've endured all this time without giving up. Endured what? Years of abuse from Keith and you. That was just joking around, what are you talking about now? It didn't sound like a joke to me. Do you understand how much it hurt? Okay, I'll listen to all of it at home whenever you want. Whenever? Do you really think we'll still be together? I've been desperate to leave. What? What are you saying all of a sudden? Haven't you noticed how much I've grown to dislike you? You never said anything. Why bring this up now? I did say. I've been enduring. Do you think I wasn't suffering from your words? You never showed any signs of that. That's because I was enduring. It's not like you'd listen to me anyway. Because you were always silent, both Keith and I thought it was okay. This is what happens when you don't choose your words carefully, both Keith and you. So foolish. In the background, Christina's voice could be heard, sounding quite angry. Keith, apparently flustered, seemed to follow after her, and his voice faded away. Do Christina and Keith look like they'll be okay? You seem to think it's someone else's problem. They told Keith to pay them back later for the cancellation fee of the ceremony. Oh, really? Doesn't that mean you'll have to pay some as well? You are his parent, after all. You too, right? Why only me? Didn't I say I'm getting a divorce? It won't concern me anymore, will it? You think that's allowed? At least, Christina and the others are on my side. It seems like the attendees think so too. How coward. Well, that's how it is. I hung up without waiting for his response. Afterward, Ted and Keith repeatedly called, but I continued to ignore them. According to what I later heard from Christina, the wedding was, of course, cancelled. Attendees who learned of the situation blamed Keith and Ted, suggesting they should bear the cancellation costs. As a result, both were looked down upon by the guests and left the venue dejected. After that, my husband and I divorced. Keith and his father are apparently struggling to get by. Keith's friends, who attended the ceremony, naturally began to distance themselves from him, and he ended up taking out his frustrations on his father, Ted. Moreover, this caused Ted to become isolated at work. I could easily imagine the situation, with colleagues finding it difficult to approach him because of the negative aura around him. They had been calling to ask for money, and I could hear Ted sobbing on the other end of the phone, almost making me burst into laughter, which I had to desperately contain. Although Ted and Keith seemed to be suffering, it was just retribution for how they treated me in the past. There was no room for sympathy. I simply responded with a light "Good luck," and ended the call. I then deleted their contact information immediately afterward. As for Christina, she had become disillusioned with Keith and had broken up with him. I feel sorry about the situation but wish Christina happiness. As for myself, I am living alone for the first time in decades and plan to enjoy my newfound freedom for a while.